I won't be spoiling any new Pokemon, locations, or plot points past the first few hours of the game. Well, the wait is over. Pokemon Scarlet and Violet have finally arrived on Nintendo Switch, and while I still have so much left to play, I feel the need to express some of my thoughts and opinions. You know that feeling of giddiness that you can only get from a new Pokemon gen? If you do, well, that's here in full effect. Scarlet and Violet truly feel next gen, with a gigantic open world, a sizable amount of exciting new monsters, and a substantial leg up on Generation 8 in terms of visuals, presentation, and scope. Jumping into a new Pokemon generation, especially one this new and fresh, is, in my opinion, one of those intangibles money just can't buy. And trust me, you'll get it from these games. Perhaps the biggest source of excitement is the huge open world these games take place in. The Paldea region is huge, and for the most part, entirely free to explore from the word go. Scarlet and Violet passed the litmus test for an open world game. If you can see it, you can probably reach it, which is a first for the series. With Nintendo marketing Scarlet and Violet as open world Pokemon adventures, I was expecting a pretty big area to explore. But now, dozens of hours into the game at this point, I'm still shocked at just how big the whole thing is. Multiple times while playing, I've had scary feelings creep in, like I was getting close to seeing the whole thing and ending the magic and sense of discovery. But then I would pull up the map screen and be completely relieved, like, oh no, I'm good, I haven't been there yet, or there, or there, or there. This is not like Pokemon Legends Arceus, where you can freely explore a closed-off area. This is actually one single, large open world map. Throw the Legends Arceus comparison out the window and think something closer to Zelda Breath of the Wild. Yeah, I'm serious. But otherwise, if someone said these games were like the best of Legends Arceus fused with the best of Sword and Shield, they wouldn't be too far off base. Minute-to-minute gameplay feels pretty similar to exploring the Galar Wild area. The whole thing is openly explorable with roaming wild Pokemon and full-on camera control. And I mean the whole thing, even while exploring towns. So I'd compare it to things like Freezington from the Crown Tundra or Jubilee Village from Legends Arceus. But the whole thing is completely seamless. You're fully immersed every second of your playthrough. No loading screens, just instant transitions from area to area. From town into field, and from field into cave and beyond, there's no waiting. This is a crazy good change that still sometimes catches me off guard. Often my brain expects a load screen when entering certain areas, but it just never comes. This leads to effortless play sessions that you can just lose yourself in. Let me just say, if you're looking for a big game to eat up your free time during the holiday season, this is the one. Pokemon Scarlet and Violet's areas are absolutely filled to the brim with Pokemon species new and old. When it comes to Pokemon variety in any given area, these games blow away any previous entry in the series with just how many Pokemon are available from the start. This is especially apparent as you explore the areas close to the school early on, as we're given an embarrassment of riches. Never before has there been this many Pokemon options as you look to get started building a team of creatures for battle. Whether you're looking to use all new monsters or find some of your trusted companions from games of old, there's a good chance you'll find them, and find them quickly. Speaking of the new monsters, I have to say, these new designs are, in my opinion, some of the riskiest ones they've ever made. What I mean is, there are some crazy new Pokemon concepts here, and as a whole, they're everything I could have wanted and more. I can't show some of my favorites quite yet, but I'm having an absolute ball discovering all the new designs. And the best part, I haven't even seen the full decks yet. Again, it's a thrill you can't really get anywhere else. Pokemon battles have seen a few notable changes in Scarlet and Violet. Colliding with the Pokemon in the overworld will initiate a battle, but you can also throw out a Pokeball with the right shoulder button to initiate a battle as well. The throw is a nice addition to an immersive open world game like this, but there's no aiming reticle like there was in Legends Arceus. So aiming at Pokemon can be a little bit awkward at first, until you get used to it. During battle, we can now move the camera around freely, something first introduced in Legends Arceus. It feels really natural to zip the camera around to get a better view of the action during fights. And we can even zoom way in and way out, which I often found to be useful, since in Scarlet and Violet, when doing battle anywhere on the map, the area around you is still crawling with life. For me, there were times while doing battle with another Pokemon that I spotted a new Pokemon species that I hadn't yet caught in the background. The ability to move the camera around freely helped me get a good look at them. Mechanically, battling is reverted to to a more traditional style, akin to what we had in Generation 8. This is, in my opinion, a huge positive. While the Arceus battle system was cool for what it was, I did not want Pokemon to shift to an overly simplified system like that. Thankfully, they didn't. Real Pokemon battles are back, and they are as brilliant as ever. The only slightly odd thing is now set mode is gone from the options. Like, why? It's a kind of baffling omission, but such a minor thing like this isn't gonna affect the experience for most people. What didn't exactly make its way back in from Legends Arceus was the way we catch Pokemon. Catching is effectively the same as it was in Sword and Shield and pretty much every other generation before that. This is something that, at first, I was definitely disappointed about. I had an amazing time catching things in Legends Arceus. It was so fast, satisfying, and honestly kinda calming. So when I entered my first wild Pokemon encounter in Gen 9 and realized the Legend style catching was gone, I wasn't exactly thrilled. But when I think about it, my disappointment was probably due to some rose-tinted glasses I had on because of how much I loved Arceus. This became very clear to me as I went on, since I actually grew to prefer the change back to traditional catching. Firstly, I forgot how much I enjoyed catching as it was, and a change away from that in the main series would have been kinda sad. Traditional Pokemon catching is like a science, and in general, it takes a lot more effort, which makes catches that much more satisfying. Catching in Legends Arceus is more immersive, which, if implemented correctly, is a style that may have worked out in a game like Scarlet and Violet. But this could have very well been the issue. There may not have been a way to implement it successfully, at least not one developed quite yet. For example, I can think of a few potential problems if Scarlet and Violet had Legends Arceus style catching. First of all, I think EXP grinding would be made extremely easy, since this type of catching is very quick, and catching Pokemon awards EXP. This wasn't really a problem in Legends Arceus because there's much less of a focus on Pokemon battling, but in Scarlet and Violet, since there is an emphasis on battles, I could potentially see this kind of easy EXP gain becoming a problem. Plus, with Legend style catching, which is typically done from afar without initiating a battle, players would be less incentivized to engage with wild Pokemon, which in my opinion is the way to properly introduce new creatures in their natural habitats. There's only so much you can get from just watching it crawl around in the overworld. While I admit it would have been interesting to see how the Legend style catching system could have worked in Gen 9, in the end, I fully understand and respect the decision to stick with traditional catching, and I think the game is all the better for it. I'm having a blast continuing to kick it old school. What's vastly different in Scarlet and Violet from any other game in the series is order of operations when it comes to progressing the story. Without giving too much away, there are 3 distinctly different mission types you can take on at any given time, and there's no preferred order for any of this. This is a really cool touch that allows players to follow their interests and express themselves however they would like on their adventure. Where this freedom really hits hard is during the gym challenge. Something that was revealed pre-release is that these games have gyms, and players can challenge them in any order. What was not clear is if there was going to be some type of level scaling in these gyms, because obviously taking on, say, the 7th gym leader with a party of level 15 Pokemon probably wouldn't work out too well. I'm happy to say that, at least from what I found so far, there is no level scaling, since you're able to challenge late game gyms at any level. But why is this a good thing? Since obviously challenging the wrong gym could lead to a rude awakening, and challenging a weak gym late game could lead to a steamroll session for your team. And while this is all true, isn't this part of the fun? Part of the thrill of open world games is being able to access challenging, high-level enemies right away. And I think the benefit of that extra challenge provided by facing off against high-level gyms far outweighs the con of potentially steamrolling low-level gyms late game. Especially with all the advantages we as players have against the AI trainers and their teams, the battles in Pokemon games are never really that challenging anyways. But this all changes when you have the option to challenge a gym that's 30 levels higher than you. And I think this is a pretty thrilling prospect. I can't wait to see what the real tryhards can do with this, because I know the I beat so-and-so gym with a level 1 Magikarp type videos are coming, if they're not already here. And one more note on the gyms, I want to know who else turns up the TV whenever the gym leader sends out their Terrestrial Pokemon, just because you know that song is coming. Leave a comment if you do it too, I can't be the only one. I also need to mention that the story in Pokemon Scarlet and Violet is hugely enjoyable. I wasn't so sure about the whole school setting at first, but man, does it work well. Without giving giving too much away, I can say that the characters grow lovable extremely quickly, even the ones you didn't expect to like. And the story even hits on an emotional level that I was wholeheartedly not prepared for. And outside of the events of the main quest, while you're out exploring the game world, you'll find secrets, little bits of lore, and Easter eggs galore. This type of care and craft is nothing new for Nintendo published titles, but it never ceases to amaze me how many precious little details and bits of fan service they put into every package they deliver. I noted how I think these games are visually beautiful, and while the huge open world isn't as pretty as something like a Breath of the Wild is, and is very much comparable to Pokemon Legends Arceus from a graphical perspective, Pokemon Scarlet and Violet wowed me in the details. From noticing small things on old favorite Pokemon, like subtle blue fuzz on a Marill, or the pronounced metallic sheen on a Magnemite, or enjoying the vistas, for example, gazing at the spires of the giant Mesa Goza gleaming in the distance. While playing, I often found myself slowing down and spending a few minutes here and there appreciating the beauty and wonder of this game world, artfully adorned with Pokemon who fit so naturally into each biome. Exploring this world is a rare and unique joy that I don't see all that much in video games. It's something to be savored. I can go on and on about this game as there's so much more to talk about, but I really want to finish it first, and probably let most of you finish it as well. I'm happy to have finally made it to the release of Pokemon Scarlet and Violet, and even this early in, I can confidently say it did not disappoint. This won't be the last video from me about these games, but first, I really want to finish things up and really let it sink in. But in the meantime, I hope everyone out there is loving the games too. Enjoy your adventures, everyone. I don't think I'll be putting this one down for quite some time.